Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to my continued series on let's build an instrument. Um, so basically, what I've done is made some decisions. Uh, you remember I had this big hunker of wood here. Uh, I had only one piece of it. It's solid. It's really great. So I cut it precisely in half because I'm thinking that I want one of these hunkers on this side and the other hunker on that side, so that I've got something really super strong to grab onto with my strings. I happen to have some plexiglass tubing, and I'm thinking I'm going to use that for the bridge and nut. For the bridge and nut. Maybe plexiglass isn't the best material because it's kind of a soft plastic, but it's what I got. And it's also tubular. So I know that my string is gonna, make this arch pretty okay. I'll probably file some small grooves to hold the strings, like any bridge or nut. Um, the next sort of thing I did was I just grabbed, a box full of just nuts and bolts and stuff that I always collect because I need a tuner, right? I need one of these. I need a tuner. Uh, and so, okay, I happen to have quite a lot of, I'll stand up so you can see it a little bit better. These guys. This is like a, oops, my shirt helps. Um, this is like some kind of hanging bracket system for false ceilings and walls and stuff. And it's a little flimsy, right? It's a little bendy, but it's got a thread. It's got a hole in a thread. And this is usually to accept a threaded rod or a bolt. Right, bang, bang, bang. And this is pretty standard bolt threaded rod size, so highly available. Um, in the States, you would call this basic shape a quarter 20, a quarter 20 thread. I'm not quite sure what it is here in Europe. I also happen to have some of these. Usually, you've got one less than you actually need. It's typical. But I have five of them. So at least I found five in my parts boxes. So what is this? This is a what's called a wing bolt. You often find it a wing nut, so just this bit. But this is a whole solid unit uh, with the thread and the thing I can grab onto to turn. And it just so happens that it's the same thread. So what do I have here? I have a tuner. Wing, 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 wing. Now this is a little flimsy. So how am I going to mount this? Now it's a little weak in this direction, but it seems to be a little stronger in this direction, right? It doesn't bend as much. Um, so I set up here kind of a provisory tuning setup. So I got one, two, three, four, and yeah, I'm gonna make a bass. I'm a bass player. I want to make a bass, but I want to make a crazy ass bass. So I staggered them here, so each one is giving the other one a little bit of support. And I'll probably need, a hunk of wood here, just to help, give them a little bit more support, just so that they don't bend like this. I'm going to be under tension, but how much tension? How much tension is this going to really be under? I don't know. We'll see. Um, I don't want to, again, I don't really want to modify this structure. I like it just the way it is. I don't want to start cutting this up. Keep it pure. So I got to think about how I'm going to play, where my strings going to go. So, and how am I going to get at my strings? So okay, here, if I have four strings here, that's no problem. They're right in front of me, assuming, I'm playing from the camera position. But then I got these other strings in the back. They're going to be, that's going to be a bit of a reach. I've decided on this, you know, provisory bridge mechanism. And then I thought, okay, well, if this bank here, or these four strings here, because with these tuners, I think I only have room for 4 strings. Uh, if this is higher, so I got two stacks of some nice strong chunks of wood that I will then mount here, and only one on the other end, and then on the other end on the far side I've got 2. I will have strings going in this direction and then strings going in this direction, which will give me finger and bow access. I think that'll work out. So I'm thinking 4 strings here, 4 bass strings here, round wound. I think I'm going to go round wound. And then 4 strings here, flat wound. I can always run around to the other side during playing, and if I need better access. And then here in the center, I think I'm going to just like put in a bunch of light strings, so it's more like a guitar. So thin strings. Again, I'm just making decisions based on the materials that I have. Now these guys here that I showed you are I think they're also very useful as, let me pass in front, as means to adjust the height of my pickup. So I've got 3 here, and so my big wonkin square magnet, I think I'm gonna mount to these on some threaded rods that then allow me to get this to just the right height. Now on this side, oops, a little bit out of the scene. This is the other big hunk of wood, and then another tube, to help with that curvature of the string. And then I'm going to probably just do a drill through, right? Because here are my strings. I've decided also that I'm going to sacrifice, a brand new pair of bass strings, because unclipped, unused, they're actually long enough to make this extension. So the idea for mounting them is, well, you could have pins because they got a hole, but I have a guitar that simply works based on a through hole, a hole here. This goes into the threads up through the hole, goes over here, goes over there, and goes to the tuner. And you could always, put a washer on the end just to get it to be a little bit, so it doesn't push into the wood too much. So through hole mounting here, across this tube, up across this tube, over across here, my pickup here, and then my tuners over here. Here's my tuners. Now I'm looking at this angle here, coming from this tube down to here. I don't want my string to be coming in at this kind of weird angle to my tuner. So I will probably need some of these eyelets. And of course, I happen to have 3 eyelets that look like this, and I got 2 more that seem to be like coated in plastic or something. They're white. All right, close enough. And as usual, you've got 1 less than what you need. And I'm not going to run to the store right now just to buy a couple of eyelets. So I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I might as well use 2 of the plastic ones and 2 of the uncoated ones to do this. Right? These will be placed here, mounted down like this, so that at least coming from the tuner, before it goes up to the bridge, it's parallel, it's level. So I think that's going to actually relieve strain on my tuner. Now I think I need this hunk of wood here, even though I'll be mounting these here into my big hunker. I need something to just help hold this back, right? So that it doesn't do this kind of thing, right? Because again, this is not terribly strong. These metal things are not terribly strong. So I need to reinforce them in some way. But I think I basically have how I'm gonna, finish out the physics, essentially, it is physics, of this instrument. And again, I don't really want to start cutting these down. I can always do that later, but if I make the decision to whack this down, which I might at some point, man, there's no going back. I'm hardly gonna try to glue this particle board back together. And why am I using these big, these stronger pieces of wood? Because anything I put into here is just going to splinter out. But if I glue this and clamp it, glue and screw and clamp it, lots of nice glue, yeah, that's going to hold, and that's going to give me a nice solid thing. Will these be screwed in? Will they be floating so I can maybe do some intonation? Will I angle these up with a screw? Well, I'll make that decision later. But I think at this point, I've got 8 fresh bass strings. Well, I got 4 tuners, and maybe I can find a couple more of these wingy dot gizmos. I certainly have lots of these, but maybe I still have another package or some of these wing nuts, or I can come up with something else. If necessary, just something that I can get a grip on. I certainly have enough now with my pickup, my big square pickup, and a way to mount the pickup and level it, a couple of pieces of wood and 4 tuners here. I think I got enough to actually at least build the first 4 strings of my instrument. So that's kind of my plan for today, and so hopefully, once I have this all built up, I will start to see what the heck is this going to sound like. Crazy bass. So 8 string bass with maybe a 12 string guitar, 4 strings and 12 string guitar in the middle. It's kind of like, your many-necked guitars that these crazy guys in prog rock use, I think there's one video of Jimmy Page with, he's got a 4-neck guitar. How absurd is that? Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Again, I am thinking more in terms of a hammered dulcimer, in that, I might be playing this with a bow, definitely with a bow, but, maybe with sticks. So this might be actually more of a hammered dulcimer. We'll see. Essentially, again, what this is a zither. This is what's called a zither, a box with a bunch of strings. Zither.